Having made contact with the young mutant named Switchback, Destiny is overwhelmed by a vision of her home Avalon being wiped out. Back in America, Ghost Dance is annihilated by the Magi. In between these 2 points across the world, making their way to Avalon on an ancient submarine, Kurt and a number of refugees struggle to survive, unaware of these events at their destination and departure point. Their worn-down vessel's air filtration systems have failed, and so the new crew is forced to come up to the surface early. They spot a nearby ship, captained by a woman named Callisto, and flag it down for help, enlisting her aid in cutting their way through a part of the submarine in order to free some refugees after some electronic doors failed to open. By the time they do so, Kurt, who was among these trapped mutants, flees, leaving the refugees behind reluctantly as he lacked the strength to take any with him using his teleportation powers. High above the ship, Damas grows impatient after Danny Moonstar refuses to stop torturing Wade Wilson, so she brutally murders Danny on the spot. During this time, Callisto tricks the refugees into going on her ship, ostensibly to take them the rest of the way to Avalon. Instead, she seizes all their valuables and drops the helpless outcasts into the ocean. Kurt, not realizing what happened until it was too late, and far too weak to resist the frigid waters, could only watch on in horror. Nightcrawler decides to stow away on Callisto's ship for some time until the pirates accidentally drift into an area called an atrocity zone, small islands in the Atlantic Ocean that Apocalypse uses to dump extra bodies spawned out of his terrible regime. Here, Nightcrawler begins wiping out Callisto's crew, exacting revenge on their actions, quickly leading to a standoff with the cold-hearted captain. Just then, Mystique appears on the scene, having flown in via an aircraft vessel. Back in New York, a number of prisoners attempt a desperate escape from the custody of Mister Sinister. They encounter a vision of Magneto, who saves the two, but doesn't recognize a young woman with green hair. Magneto leaves her behind and is unaware this hopeless prisoner is actually Eric's own daughter, known in another time as Polaris. Later, Cyclops, Havoc, and Apocalypse all discuss Sinister's betrayal. Apocalypse had expected his horsemen would eventually turn on them, knowing this was always in the villain's nature, but is hardly worried about Sinister either, as he doesn't consider the man a threat whatsoever. Scott tries to warn Apocalypse that Sinister should not be underestimated, and admiring how the man will bravely speak his mind in the face of such a powerful tyrant, Apocalypse offers Cyclops the position of horseman to take Sinister's place. This makes Alex overwhelmingly jealous, whose mood is only worsened when he learns of the escaped prisoners. He and his subordinates interrogate Lorna violently, and though she lashes out briefly with her powers over magnetism, she tells them little of the escape other than seeing Magneto. Alex is told by the Guthries that Lorna's DNA does not actually match Magneto's, and insists the young woman is simply deluded about being the daughter of Magneto. Havoc decides to turn Dane over to Beast, who explains that Lorna believes all this after her parents were killed early in Apocalypse's callings. Meanwhile, Scott investigates the disappearance of Mister Sinister with the Bedlam brothers. They are greeted by Angel, who is worried about the impending possible war with the humans in Europe. Scott then returns to the Beast and puts a stop to his torture of Lorna, worried it could provoke the humans due to existing agreements banning genetic experimentation. Beast points out that the negotiations made with the human race are just a stalled tactic by Apocalypse, and he will never maintain such a truce with their kind. Hank refuses on these grounds to stop his experimentation on Lorna, so Cyclops uses his optic blast to destroy Beast's equipment and orders Lorna be returned to the pens. From the perspective of Dane, however, she hallucinates being saved by Magneto. That night, Cyclops sneaks the young woman out of prison, attacking Northstar and Aurora when he encounters them, and he successfully manages to smuggle Lorna out of the ruined city. This is witnessed by Havoc, who gleefully realizes it is finally time to make a move against his brother. Elsewhere, Domino and Grizzly dispatch a rogue mutant. They and Caliban, another follower of Apocalypse, all seek an unknown telepath recently detected in this area. Unknown to them, their target is Nathaniel Gray, a powerful mutant currently being trained by Forge, in the hopes that his unique abilities can be honed such that they could actually be capable of standing up to Apocalypse himself. Their friends, Brute and Mastermind, watch on, with the recently rescued Teresa, who has taken up the mutant name of Sonique. Nate gets frustrated by the training, as Forge is currently focusing on the young man being able to fight without relying on his powers. The more experienced mutant knows they should be expecting anything when it comes to battling Apocalypse, and thus Nate shouldn't be entirely reliant on his tremendous abilities. Nevertheless, a frustrated Gray storms off and abruptly brings the training session to an end. He talks this over with Teresa and his new other friend, Essex. This once stranger claims to have been a former bioengineer working for Apocalypse, but now travels with this group. Nate has telepathically scanned Essex himself and thus believes his story, but the others struggle to trust this new stranger. In contrast to Forge, Essex is quite interested in Nate's powers and suggests they focus on training them. On his advice, Nate Gray soon realizes he can use his telekinesis to fly in the air. At this sight, the former bioengineer begins to behave strangely as he and Sonique watch the boy use his powers to fly, only for Nate to crash into the ground, injuring himself. Essex suggests they keep this incident to themselves, as Forge doesn't want Nate training on his own, and dazed from the fall, the boy groggily accepts this notion. Later, at a meeting, Essex suggests to Forge's group that they target a valuable research lab, going on the offensive against Apocalypse. Forge reluctantly agrees with this notion, but insists they only go out to scout it at first. During the meeting, Brute can't help but think Essex looks vividly familiar. At the research center, Nate witnesses a number of atrocities and is disgusted by what he sees, though it does stir something within the boy's memories too. As they infiltrate the base, Essex explains this is the site of a grisly project kept hidden from the outside world, that is intent on extracting the bone marrow of humans en masse for the benefit of mutant kind. The sight of it enrages Nate as he lashes out at the Infinite and Magi forces guarding this facility. Chaos soon erupts, and the group is barely able to escape alive, though not without Nate revealing his powers to the Magi. Though Forge is enraged at Essex over this happening and is worried about Nate now being discovered, Nate Gray quickly recovers from the incident and tries to sneak away from the group. When confronted by Teresa as he tries to leave, Nate explains he was deeply shaken by what he had seen. And so Gray wants some answers. He and Sonique agree to go out on their own and find them. Instead of leaving though, Nate projects their minds out into the world. Traveling across the continent, they soon spot the ruins of Westchester Mansion and nearly manage to make contact with Magneto. Nate realizes, to his dismay, that Forge has been keeping him away from the X-Men all this time. Elsewhere, Brute confronts Essex and has finally realized that he was experimented on by this newcomer back in Apocalypse's pens. Not wanting the others to know about this, Essex brutally slaughters the simple-minded mutant. Later, Essex is confronted by Forge and is asked to leave the group. Before Essex can respond though, they are confronted by Domino, Grizzly, and Caliban. Across the world in Bristol, Weapon X looks for Jean Grey, who left him after they learned about the planned nuclear strike against Apocalypse. He finds her working to help the human refugees that recently arrived, courtesy of the heroic efforts of the X-Men operating in the long-conquered and mutant-controlled North America. This confirms to Weapon X that the Sentinels were able to make their way through the path he and Jean carved out of Apocalypse's seawall in the Atlantic Ocean. Jean explains to a worried Logan that she just needed to help somebody after learning what the Human Council is planning. She's desperate for an alternative to nuclear war, though Weapon X finds these thoughts shocking given the horrors Apocalypse has already unleashed on the world. Suddenly, 2 mutants, part of Abyss's Brotherhood, attack, revealed to have been stowed away on the ships with the other fleeing humans. As these evil mutants viciously attack the humans present, Jean and Weapon X strike out, making quick work of the two, but Logan is still left upset by the incident. He states to Jean that this is war and they must act accordingly, accusing the woman of being complacent in the face of this atrocity, and even hurtfully stating she was reluctant to ever leave the mindset of the slave pens he saved her from. Logan storms off, prepared to inform the Human Council of prime targets for their upcoming nuclear attack, and Jean is left devastated. On board a human airship, Logan goes to speak with the Council, when an old romantic partner of his, Lady Mariko, approaches. They speak briefly of old times with some fondness before Mariko admits that, like Jean, she is desperately seeking an alternative to nuclear war. Mariko states she does not trust Brian Braddock of the Human Council and feels his plans go far beyond the current warfare between human and mutant. One of the aircraft nearby is then violently attacked by more stowaways working on behalf of Apocalypse, and they attempt to use the crashing blimp to destroy the human guidance system that would be used to launch nuclear missiles. They watch the Human Council realize that they could sacrifice their lives to save the device, but Brian Braddock is unwilling to make that sacrifice and discounts it as an option. Instead, Logan drops down from the ship to confront the terrorists at great risk, initially burning out his healing factor navigating through the flames of the vehicle. Recognizing fellows from his Weapon series experiments that turned him into Weapon X, he and the terrorists are quick to fight one another. Weapon X is able to kill them and even survives the experience, but all the same the weapon's guidance system is destroyed, upsetting the Human Council as they can no longer make a surprise first attack. As Weapon X emerges from the resulting wreckage, he receives a short telepathic message from Jean, saying goodbye. He rushes to find her taking off in a plane, and threatens to stop her when he realizes she is going to war in America. Jean sadly states the only way she will stop is if Logan kills her, and since Weapon X is unwilling to do that, she simply kisses him and takes off, with Weapon X letting the woman he loves return home.